All right. BradCooney.com is here with intuitive astrologer Rachel Lang. Rachel, thanks for coming to Mississippi and Mississippi House.
Absolutely. Thank you for welcoming me to Mississippi and Mississippi House.
You're very welcome.
It's been a great visit.
Yeah, I was going to get into that right out of the bat. Tell us a little bit about your experience here in the house, and what do you think of Mississippi overall?
So, my experience in the house is that it's very active with a lot of spirit activity. I'm very sensitive to energy, and when I first walked in the room, I had a sense that that there were these little children's spirits kind of hanging around here, and my initial impressions were that the house is really nothing feels dark or heavy. Everything feels really light and loving. And feels like a real center of spiritual activity. So I've actually really enjoyed being here and participating in some of the investigations.
Okay. So when you first got here, I was with you, and we walked back to that bedroom in the downstairs bedroom, and I've personally had a lot of experiences in there with the paranormal. Tell us about what you were feeling when you first walked in there.
That's so interesting. So when I first walked in that room, I had the sensation that I was going to pass out. Like I got lightheaded and dizzy, and it felt to me like how when you go into a crowded subway station or a crowded bus, a subway station is actually what I felt like. How there's a lot of people moving back and forth, like and that's how it felt to me. And so there, it felt energizing, powerful. It didn't really feel like I said dark or heavy or anything like that.
So would it be fair to say it's like a portal of some sort? Do you get that impression?
Yeah, I do actually. I get that impression, and I don't know. None of us really know exactly what that means.
Sure.
Because we're not spirit, and we don't live in that dimension. But from what I could tell, it felt like it was a center of activity. Like there were a lot of spirits passing through.
That's one of the rooms that's the most active in the house, for sure. I've had the wardrobe door move on me. Light anomalies. In fact, you saw one that I captured on video last night. Do you get the impression that they're going out of the way to say, hey, it's us, this is where we're here, and when we're capturing that, or do you feel that's just them doing their thing and we're just having to catch it? Do you understand the question?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
that's a great question. I think they're doing their thing. That in that room specifically, they're doing their thing. I don't think they're going out of their way to get our attention. I think every once in a while there are a couple of spirits who are like resident spirits here in the house. And I feel like they like to get our attention just to kind of maintain contact and say, there are other dimensions. There are things that we as humans can't see or can't feel or can't know empirically. And I feel like the house spirits here, the ones that are the resident spirits, are always trying to engage with people, with us. And I think that's when we see that activity.
One of the more dramatic things that's happened in that room is the bed, and you've seen how big that bed is. It's very heavy. It's moved from the wall like a foot and a half away from the wall. And normally it's positioned right up against the wall, and it actually slid like a foot and a half from the wall, and it happened twice so far. Why do you think, is that a message they're trying to send us? Do they not want the bed there? Because when we moved it back, not too long after that, it slid back away from the wall again.
Yeah.
So is there a message there, or what's behind the movement? It's like poltergeist activity.
Yes. When I ask that question to my guidance, and what I hear is that's a powerful spot, like a power spot, and that there's something along the lines of they're just showing that there's a lot of light going through that spot, like there's a specific hole, a specific point, almost like a latitude longitude point that feels like it's it's bright, like there's a bright energy there.
And they don't want something blocking that, maybe?
Yeah, that's what it feels like to me. And it's interesting. So my background is an astrologer.
I was going to segue into that.
And I do some mediumship. I do some mediumship in my practice. I combine the two. And so as an astrologer, I'm always fascinated with latitude and longitude. Like every single point, every single point in the cosmos has a latitude and longitude, a declination. Every single point on the globe has a latitude and longitude. And so it's almost as if when I'm offering this information, they're saying that there's something very specific about that latitude and longitude point, which I would go back and look up actually and see if I can see, like I would map it, chart it out.
So you believe, and I do too, that the level of activity in this house will fluctuate based on where the stars and the planets are in the sky.
Absolutely. Well, in our own lives too.
Yeah.
We're so connected to nature and to the cosmos and to one another that any movement of a heavenly body is going to somehow stimulate an electromagnetic shift in frequency for us. So yeah, definitely, there are deep connections.
We've also noticed that there's an increase in activity when it's raining and when there's lightning and thunder. It seems like there's more activity in here. So I'm not sure if that would be connected to astrology or not.
Well, I think again, it's like that we can't separate ourselves, or our relationship with spirit and our relationship with nature. Yeah, like we're always relating in ways that we can't always, necessarily identify on a logical scale or rational basis. But I think that there's such a deep interconnection between all of it.
Okay, so you have a great show.
Thank you.
Listen Up.
Yes.
I've checked it out. You did a live show from the house, and we got some pretty exciting activity. Yeah. Some paranormal stuff went down while you were broadcasting live.
It was crazy. It was wild.
So two things. Tell the listeners, because we have a lot of them that will be listening to this. Tell them about your show, and also talk about the experience you had the other night when you were doing your show live from the house. Okay. So my show is Listen Up. And it's I focus on astrology, spirituality, and all matters that fall underneath those umbrellas. And it airs on UBN Radio Friday afternoons. And so yesterday when I was broadcasting live, I started off the show, and John Bullard, who is a paranormal investigator, had set up all this equipment because we were gonna go around and look at it. And so there was the Mel meter, there was the REM pod, and the EVP machine. So he had these pieces of equipment all around. And as soon as I started broadcasting, the equipment started beeping. And no one was touching any of this. I mean, we were in a different room for some of the equipment, and no one was anywhere around there. The temperature was not like, no one was playing with the heat. The sun was consistent throughout the entire time, but all of a sudden things started beeping, and so I stopped my flow of the show, and we started going in and looking at the equipment, and then the spirits became very active. And John said he's never seen it go, the Mel meter went to 41.0, which is insane.
What is it usually?
This house is a base of about a 2, a 3. The highest I've seen it in our active nights is a 9. So for it to go like almost 5 times higher than the highest we've ever had, it's incredible. That's insane. That's a crazy millimeter reading. I've never seen it that high before.
Wow. And that's what John's face through the entire podcast was in shock. And he actually said that if you plugged that Mel meter into an outlet, that it would go up to maybe 10.
Yeah. That's what makes it so intriguing, because it quadrupled that. And then what's also was really interesting about that, when the millimeter was at 41, your producer was seeing flashes in the lampshade.
Yes.
So there's a lot of things that just kind of like fit together with this, with the reading and your experiences. probably won't forget that for a while, will you?
No, it was exciting. It was really exciting. And I think it's, so I approach this from the standpoint of someone who does do some mediumship and who really actively works with spirit. And so I don't really have familiarity with a lot of the equipment. I've never actually participated in an investigation myself. But I have a real deep sense of spirit. And so it's interesting to have that validated, like whatever I'm feeling or whatever I'm sensing in my physical
Technology
body.
is supporting what you're feeling.
Exactly. And I think that there's a real opportunity there to kind of prove that we are connected to spirit, and that spirit wants to engage with us and wants to tell us that it's not all over when we pass away. That we
I think
are
most
energy.
people want that. They want to know. They want to have confirmation that when we die, it's just not like how it was before we were born, like void, nothing.
Yeah.
Tell us more about your show. So do people call in and you do readings to guests that call in?
Sometimes I do different show topics. So I always start with an astrological forecast. What's happening this week, so that you can make the most of each day. And then I usually do either a guest segment or I feature some specific topic that's pertinent to astrologically what's happening. And then after that, I do take calls. I do readings, and so some of that, some shows do feature that.
Where do you want to see your career and your show, let's say, 3 years from now?
Honestly, I'm in the middle of writing a book. And
great.
And so that is my main focus, my main priority. What I really want, my goal, is to develop ways for people to access astrology and spirituality that simplifies it, so that I kind of want to bring it to the masses, bring it to people who don't know anything about this subject. I feel like we're in a really big transition, moving into the age of Aquarius, moving into a time when we are more open, when we really are, everything's changing. And so I want to kind of help people move through that change and do it in a way where they can enhance their spiritual senses and I really want to make a difference. I want to help people, help people figure out who they are, how they're connected, and how astrology can help them in their everyday lives.
What's some advice you could give to someone who's just beginning to venture into the astrology? If they have the gift, what are some things you could say to them to nurture that and to run with it?
Sure. So first of all, pay attention. I recommend to all of my first students that they get an astrological daily planner or a witch's calendar or something, and they follow the moon. Where's the moon? Because the moon moves into a new sign every 3 days, and so if you can follow the moon, you can start to trace energies and see what different moon, when the moon's in Scorpio, for example, like it is in your chart. A lot of us are feeling, and it is today actually, a lot of us are feeling a little bit more intense, more passionate, more emotional. We're all getting a deeper sense of our own spirituality. Our awareness of the paranormal is heightened under that influence. And so by understanding this is what happens when the moon's in Scorpio, this is how we're all feeling, then you can sort of identify how you might make the most of that influence, how you might use the moon in Scorpio. So you might increase your meditation practice. You might, connect with people, a spiritual advisor or a psychic or a healer. You might work through some of your own emotional stuff. So finding out where you are in relationship to what's happening outside of you and just looking at the moon is a great way to start.
Awesome.
Yeah. All
right, so before I let you go, tell the fans again where they can find your website and how they can follow you on social media.
Okay, my website is blissenup.com, and they can find me at Blissenup with Rachel on Facebook, Blissenup on Twitter, and I'm on Stitcher, Spreaker, iTunes, all any platform you can think of, YouTube. So just find my channel there too.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you.